All right, good morning. Good morning, way in the back, in your cheap seats way back. So, I am probably one of the only people in the United States who actually benefited from the government shutdown. Because Eric couldn't make it, I get to speak. That's pretty cool. Now I can go on my resume, I was a fill-in for a congressman. This is pretty cool. So Will has some handouts. If you don't have a handout, I put a few out, but you're going to want to take some notes, follow along. Raise your hand if you don't have a handout. Will come around with those. I'll start the timer, and away we go. So many of you have heard me talk about goals and how important they are. Just to give you a quick sense, out of 12 speaking engagements that I'm doing this quarter, 8 of them are on this topic. That's how important it is right now. People are starting to look ahead to 2014. And usually I will ask my audiences, how many people have goals? And here's generally what happens. 100% of people have goals. 50% actually have them written down by year, quarter, and month. 25% actually have a written plan of action, but only 10% actually look at the plan on a weekly basis. So I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands and embarrass yourself, but just keep those numbers in mind. 100%, 50, 25, 10. And by the way, anecdotally, I've gone and asked those 10% who have goals, have them written down, have a plan of action, and actually look, they are the top producers in their office. Now, it's not a guarantee that you'll be a top producer if you do all these things I'm about to tell you, but it does raise the likelihood very dramatically that you will become a top producer if you do all of this. So keep that in mind. And if my speaking doesn't convince you, let me read you a quick quote. The wisdom of Andrew Carnegie as told to Napoleon Hill. So this is Andrew Carnegie speaking, back a good 80 some odd years or something. And in one of the chapters, he said, successful leaders in all walks of life exemplify one or more of the 30 or more traits of leadership, and in some instances they possess all of these traits. And the number one trait is the adoption of a definite major purpose and a definite plan for attaining it. And he goes on to talk a lot about a definite major purpose, which I interpret to mean goals. Okay? By the way, how many of you have already written your 2014 goals by year, quarter, and month? Let me see a show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many of you are beginning to think that maybe this would be a good idea if I started working on that? All right, great. I'm going to make you an offer at the end that hopefully will take it over the top. All right, so hopefully you've got your handout. Everybody's got the handout. Get a writing implement out. The bananas don't work, so get a pen or a pencil. 7-step process. By the way, this little segment that I'm doing is only 20 minutes out of an hour-and-a-half presentation. So those of you that would like me to come to your office and do the full 90 minutes, just let me know. This is just a small piece of it. Number 1, it says identify it. Write it down smartly. How many of you have heard of the SMART formula before? A lot of people have heard of that. Turn to the next page. I'm going to cover that very quickly. When you write it down in the SMART formula, the S is for specific. The M is for measurable. A is attainable or achievable or action-oriented. This should be on the back of your handout. The R is realistic, and then there are some other R words, but realistic is the commonly accepted one. And time-bound. See, I have some of my clients, they'll say, well, I ask them, what's your goal for next year? They said, to sell more real estate. How many of you have a goal to sell more real estate? Yeah, but is that specific and measurable? No. So by the time they're done thinking it through, I will list and sell, or list and close, no less than 5 houses at an average sale price of $1 million or more. My average net commission, or you could even say your gross commission, will be 2.5%, etc., etc. That's getting a little more specific, yes? And it's measurable. 5 houses. Did you do that? If you did 4, you didn't hit the goal. You did 6, you exceeded it. So you've got to be very, very clear on having that target. Harv Eker, many of you may have heard of T. Harv Eker. He wrote the book called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And he said, most people don't get what they want in life because they don't know what they want. How are you going to get, you can't hit a target you don't have. If you don't have a very clear, specific, measurable target to go after with a time bound, with a due date, a by when, it's got to have a by when. So you're going to set your yearly goals, then you break them down into quarter. I call this fractionation. To fractionate means to break apart a really big thing into smaller pieces. So you fractionate it into the quarter, January, February, March. What am I going to do in that 90-day period? And then you fractionate it still further. What am I going to do in January? By the way, are your January goals somewhat already being determined by your activity in October? Yeah. Real estate's one of those lag businesses. It's a 60-day lag. What you're putting into escrow now and in November is going to show up as income in January and February. So you're already in 2014 if you didn't already realize that. Again, by the way, I should have said when I started, every word that comes out of my mouth is my opinion. These are not facts. These are my opinion. But if it resonates with you and you like it and it makes sense, adopt it. Go teach this stuff to the people in your office. It's a thrill to a trainer when the audience goes and teaches. You become teachers yourself. All right, a couple other quick additional points. Written down where you'll see them. You don't write down your goals, put them on a piece of paper, throw them in a drawer, and not look at them until December 31st. That's not a good idea. So you want to have them out where you can see them. Shared with supportive other people. Underline the word supportive. If I said my goal was to lose 10 pounds by November 1st, and I shared that goal with Tammy Pryor sitting up here in the front, and she looked me straight in the face and went, ha 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 ha, is that supportive? No! I want to share it with Jim here, because he's going to say, great, put your running shoes on, we're going to run around the block and get all sweaty and lose the 10 pounds today. So make sure they're supportive of other people. Positively stated. Your goals need to be something to move towards, not run away from. A lot of people state goals in the negative. I will stop doing this. Okay, here's one. I will stop eating jelly donuts. What picture did you just get in your mind? How many people got a jelly donut? How many of it you have red raspberry coming out of the little hole on the side? Yeah! Amen, brother! I don't know why, but when I say that, people get it. Now, how are you going to lose weight if you have a picture of a jelly donut in your head and your goal is to stop eating jelly? You're walking down the street, you see a jelly donut. You got a picture of a jelly donut? It's a match! It's a match! Grab the jelly donut, eat it. No. I put healthy, nutritious food into my body. Now what picture did you get? Carrots, greens, rabbit food, I call it. Okay? So it's got to be a positively stated goal, not a negatively stated goal that you run away from. Challenging, fun if possible. Goals are not shoulds. Has anybody ever been should on before? Anybody ever been should on? You don't want to be should on. So they're not need to or have to's, but rather want to's. They're your goals, and then you want to have short term, what I call daily, weekly, monthly, and long term, which are quarterly, yearly, and beyond. All right, go back a page, or flip back over again. That's all part of step one. By the way, this whole process should take you about an hour. I've timed a lot of my clients about an hour to sit down. That's an uninterrupted hour, by the way. No cell phones, no interruptions from your broker or other agents asking you questions. Sit down for an hour, block it into your calendar, and really look. And people say, well, Brad, goals, I don't know what I want next year. Imagine that it was December 31st, 2014, and I meet you at a New Year's Eve party, and I ask you, Mr. Tim Denbo, how was 2014? And he says, Brad, it was incredible. Great. What did you accomplish? What happened? Well, I did this, and I did that, and I did this, and I did that. And you look back from the future into the past, and then imagine what transpired for you over that year, and those become your goals. All right, number 2, it says identify the obstacles, barriers, and challenges you're likely to encounter. What is the number one barrier, obstacle, and challenge that you're going to encounter?
You.
Yourself. Thank you, Mr. Wildor. It is yourself. How many of you have a little voice inside your head? How many of you have a committee? You know what I'm talking about. Oh, gotta go to the gym tonight. Oh, but it's dark out already. Yeah, but you promised your coach you'd go to the gym. Yeah, but those pounds, they'll just melt off tonight, you know. Well, you know, who has, anybody besides me, have a little boy, a little committee going back and forth? You stop yourself, I stop me, more than any other person on this planet. If you don't believe me, go look in the mirror, talk to that person. They will tell you that. That was a joke, but not a really good one, so I just take it. Copy. All right, so identify those obstacles and barriers. Number 3, it says identify the people, groups, and organizations that you'll need to work with and or who can provide assistance and support. How many of you have an accountability buddy or a coach or a partner, somebody that holds you accountable and helps you? How many of you thought about getting one and haven't done it yet? Now's a good time. Go find somebody. Team up with somebody. I call them accountability buddies. And make an agreement to meet every Monday for 15 minutes and just say, hey, Tammy, what are you doing this week? What are your goals? What's up? Well, Brad, I'm going to knock on 10 doors and I'm going to get 1 listing. Great, Brad, what are you going to do? And I'm going to go to the gym 4 times and I'm going to lose 2 pounds. And then the next Monday we get together and we say, Tammy, how do you do? Now, no finger pointing, no, bad, making the person feel bad. It's just, what did you say you were going to do? What did you actually do? Is there still a gap? And how can I help you bridge that gap? So you got to find out those groups, people, and organizations. Number 4, identify what you need to know in order to accomplish the goals. Skills, training, knowledge, information. I spend, literally, I've been counting it up, and my wife's on my case about this. I spend thousands of dollars a year taking more training. And people look at me and say, Brad, you went to MIT and you have an undergraduate degree. You went to UC Berkeley, you have a graduate degree. You've taken thousands of classes, hours of classes. You listen in the car to see, why do you keep going to classes? Because there's more to learn. And the more, and also at my age, I'm forgetting most of what I learned already. So I got to go back and relearn it. 62, the brain doesn't work as much, as well when I was 32. So I keep going back. I'll give you an example. This past weekend, just this last weekend, I was down in LA, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, taking a class called Publish a Book and Grow Rich. How many of you would like to take a class like that, where they teach you how to write? How many of you would like to write your own book? Yeah, and it's stuck inside you someplace. I took that class last weekend, and I published a book. Just kidding. This has been out for a while, but I learned a lot about what I did wrong on that first go-round. And so when I get ready to do my second one, I've now got a process. They taught us a process, 40 hours in 5-minute increments, and all the steps you needed to take to get your chapters and your headings and all. You pre-sell ads in the book. So for instance, I would get a mortgage person who works with realtors to take out an ad in my book. They're permanently in there. Every copy I sell now has this ad promoting that mortgage person or an insurance person or somebody else who doesn't compete with me, but whose target is the same person that I'm targeting in the sale of my book. Brilliant! I get 6 ads at $500 each, and that's low. They said $3,000 to $3,500 should be a typical ad. Even if I sold them for $500 and I put 8 ads, quarter page, 1 page back and forth, that's, I don't do the math. What is that? $4,000, 500 times 8, but $4,000 in my hand. I haven't written the book yet, but I've got people committed to already support my book, and I use that money to go do the first printing. Then I give them each 100 copies for them to hand out to their clients. Is that not a freaking brilliant idea? I learned that in the workshop. I'm teaching it to my 21-year-old daughter who wants to write a book. So I'm going to take her and her boyfriend, sit them down for a couple hours, teach them everything I learned. So that's number 4. Identify what you need to know. By the way, just in case the little voice inside your head said the 4 most dangerous words in the English language, I already know that. Just notice if that's where you went as I've been speaking. Well, I already know. Oh, I've heard this before. Great, what are you doing about it? Is it helping you hit your goals? Okay, number 5, it says identify a plan of action. Who will do what by when? This also includes a system. You can underline the word system. It stands for save yourself time, energy, money. That's what a system does. How many of you have a lead generation system in place? And how many of you wondering, why don't I have more leads? There could be a correlation between the two. By the way, I'm not up here to be your friend either. I'm up here to just teach you what I know. It may be making you a little uncomfortable. Good, that's my job as a coach. That's what happens to me every other Monday when I talk to my coach. I get nervous before the call. I get a little uncomfortable because I know he's going to kick me in the rear end and get me to think about and stretch myself into areas I haven't gone before. So you got to get that plan. You need a system for accountability, follow-up and review, and contingency plans. And keep this in mind, one of my favorite quotes, the smallest of actions is always better than the noblest of intentions. Oh, somebody went, ooh. The smallest of actions is always better than the noblest of intentions. Keep that in mind. Number 6, how many of you listen to radio station WIIFM? Anybody? Sometimes. What's in it for me? I mean, obviously, these goals have to have some meaning to you. So why is it important for you to reach the goals? What are the benefits? I like to travel. Many of you know, sometimes I'm not here on Friday. It's usually because I'm on vacation someplace. I like going places. I like taking my wife as well on the vacation. So that's the goal, is go on vacation with the wife to someplace nice. We're looking at Italy in 2014. We haven't written the goal yet. It's not actually written down with a plan yet, but that's one of the things we're considering. 2 to 3 weeks. I'm going for 3. So we'll see. All right, so identify what's in it for me. And finally, number 7, it says identify how you will celebrate and acknowledge yourself and others once the goal is reached. Better have a big frickin' party. Okay, I want to see everybody partying every time you hit a goal. By the way, I do something called the ka-ching dance. Every time I land a new client, I run into my wife. My wife works at home as well. She works for Oracle. That's where she's now. She's the one that makes all the money in the family. I'm the one that gets to go out and tell jokes and speak and things. So I go home, and as soon as I sign up a new client, I run into the room. She gets up. We dance around the room going ka-ching, ka-ching, because I just signed up a new client. So we like doing the ka-ching dance in our house. All right, do it again. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. We only do it for a few seconds, but it's fun. And the more times we do it, the more fun it is. We like that. All right, so just to wrap up. But how many of you got at least one new idea that you can use? Cool. How many of you are going to write your goals for 2014? All right, look at all the hands. Here's my offer. There's a lot of people here, but here we go. If you write your goals, they got to be written in the SMART formula for 2014 by year, first quarter, and the month of January, and you email those to me by Halloween. Got to put a deadline on this. By October 31st. I will critique them and get back to you for a free 30-minute consultation on the phone. We'll go over your plan. We'll make sure it's in the SMART formula. We'll make sure it's challenging and a stretch. We'll do a lot of that stuff. I'll coach you through so that by the end of that call, you will have your 2014 goals ready to rock and roll. Sound good? But you got to get it to me by, now you don't have to do the session until November, December, but you've got to get these done by October 31st. Email them to me. My email is on there. It's just my name, brad@bradwarren.com. Get those to me. I'll get back to you. We'll set up that 30-minute session. Thank you very much. Have a great month.
All right, Brad, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. And when you